Hello and welcome back to Homeschool Together. Thank you for joining us. We've been in the North Africa studying the lands of Morocco to Egypt, and we kind of span the whole area, but we focus mainly on our biome as we've been doing for the last week or so, and we focus mainly on the desert, studying the Sahara. We have a couple great recommendations for you to do that as well, and then we also focused a lot on the pyramids, kind of like an exciting thing a little kid would be excited about. Now, our oldest was at camp this week, and homeschool stops for no one, including the almost 9-year-old. And so we just continued on with their youngest, and so we didn't do the travel planning, what is it, diary that she's doing.
Like her being a travel agent planning a trip to the country.
She had to get up too early. She came home. She was really tired, and I didn't want to push anything.
We did have her read a book. She did read the. I'm not going to get the name right. It's hard when it's an audio book because I don't have it right in front of me. But she read the next book in the Boxcar Children's Mysteries, and I'll put the link in the show notes to which one it is, but it's set in Cairo. So she read that one or listened to it on audio in the evenings, and she said it was great. So I think that's a great one if you have older learners that want to come along.
Yep, she's been enjoying those. Let's start with Deep in the Sahara.
Yeah, this is a really fun one. So this is about a little girl, and she is looking up to all the older women in the village, and she wants to look like them. They have these beautiful robes, and she's looking at all the different colors, and the different women of the village are telling her, when you're an adult, this is what you will have too. And spoiler alert, she gets one at the end. And this is really beautiful. And I think that this is probably set in like Tunisia, as I think where it's set.
Tunisia, Mali, one of those areas.
So this is really great. So if you're going to do the Sahara, I think this is cool because it gives a good cultural perspective, and I think it's great because it's a girl's perspective too. It's a very sweet story. Our little one actually, she tricked me because you had already read it, and she had me read it again because she liked it so much. So this is a very simple book. Not a lot of words, and I think that it's
pretty artwork. I like it.
It's pretty artwork, and I think it's great for the 5-year-old set because it's just not too long. So I can highly recommend this one. So if you're going to study North Africa, or you just want to do desert biomes, you want to talk all about the Sahara, this is just a great, easy recommendation for that.
Next one, the Day of Ahmed's Secret.
So this is a book set in Cairo, and this has that cool, what is it called, rotoscoping?
It's kind of rotoscope painting, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, so like pictures, but they've made it into a painting. This is Ahmed, and he's a little boy going through Cairo, and he's making deliveries for his father, and he's meeting all the different people in the city, and it gives a really great cultural perspective on what that's like, and the different vendors, and they're talking to him.
Works in the marketplace, and
it's a really good book. I think that this is the one maybe that's recommended by Build Your Library is my memory. But this is a really solid book. It's a little bit longer as far as word count. Our little one doesn't have quite the stamina for it yet. But it's a really good story. And I think it has a sweet message. It sounds like a little ominous that he has a secret. It's like it's very innocuous. It's very charming. So this is a really good book. I think. And didn't this say something about? Oh, I thought this said Reading Rainbow or something. I felt like this would have totally been a Reading Rainbow book. But anyways,
it feels like a Reading Rainbow book.
Yeah, really good. So definitely check this one out if you get a chance.
Next one is called One Wish.
Yeah, so this is about the oldest continuously operating university in the world. And it's about this girl, I think her name is Fatima, and so it's her wish to have a university where everyone can study, and kind of her lifelong love of learning and how she brought that about. So it's got some really good artwork. Our daughter, again, had me read this to her twice, and even though you'd already read it. So I really like this one. I think it's a good story. And I want to say, I think this is Morocco. I want to say this is Morocco. But yeah, really good story. Really liked this one too.
Next one we have is The Storyteller. This is a fun book based in Morocco, kind of set in kind of like a mythological stories, kind of telling these stories through a storyteller, which is kind of funny. It's like it's a story nested within stories, and this boy keeps coming back looking for water, and this older gentleman who's a storyteller keeps telling him these different stories about water and the importance of water and the water in the desert. So it just keeps bringing back that idea of water being kind of this life giver within the desert. Really beautiful, interesting artwork. I don't know if my youngest liked this art style, but I enjoyed looking at it because there was a lot of just texture to the images that you don't normally get with a children's book. It felt almost like a collage style book. So if you like that type of artwork, I would really suggest this. I read this book short bits, because every time he told a story, it was essentially, you were telling this one story, then he dove into another story. Once that story was finished, the boy went home at the end of the day and drank his water. I stopped there, and then I came back the next day and we read the next portion of the story. So if you have a younger learner who has a little bit less stamina, I would encourage you to do that with this story, where just kind of take it in chunks. Absolutely. How the Sphinx got to the museum.
Oh yeah, this was a really good one. So this kind of had a repetitious bit, and our youngest really liked this one. It's about a marble sphinx that was made for the pharaoh Hatshepsut, and it was about her making it. So she commissions it, the sculptor, the quarry person, carves it, the sculptor makes it, and then they end up burying it, and then an archaeologist finds it later. And once he finds it, then somebody has to dig it, or get it onto the ship. The movers have to move it to New York. It ends up going to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And so it ends up going through. So it goes through this laundry list of people. So like that, it starts, there's a photographer. It's retouched by the artist and assigned a number by the registrar and hoisted by the riggers and worked by the conservators and the curator and the art movers and the Department of Antiquities and the archaeologist and the Egyptian priests and sculptors. And it goes back through, and every page goes back through every person that was in the long line of how it actually got to the Met. So it's cool. By the end, it's like you've got all these people, the art historians and the curator and the artists who touched it up.
All the hands that had
everybody that touched it. And then we went online and we looked at the pictures of the Sphinx at the Met. And so it was funny because your parents are going to be going to New York in a few months, and they're going to go to the Met. They're actually spending an entire day there. And so we told them, like, you have to take a picture in front of the Sphinx just for our daughter and send it to us, because we read all about this. So I think this is really fun. It's fun on a few levels. I love when we get to highlight the work of people behind the scenes, especially with a museum. You see an exhibition, and it's like all these people went into displaying that, and then before that, all these people went into making it or using it if it was a tool or whatever it was. So I think it's really cool to show this like chain of custody through history and all the steps that everybody did to make this get there. So
especially it's a real thing you can see pictures of. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool book. This could work also if you're studying New York City, just because it does go to the Met, and that's kind of fun. So about half the book takes place there. So just FYI, but I think it's a cool one.
Nice one if you're doing Africa study, especially if you're touching a number of countries. You're going to come back to Africa multiple times on whatever around the world, trekking the globe, whatever you end up doing. A great book to help you with that is Africa is Not a Country.
Yep. So this is the recommendation, I think by Build Your Library, and every page is a different country. So it's all a snippet of the day in a life. Of different people and all the different countries. So it's kind of cool because it highlights how, Africa is so varied, right?
Yeah.
Every place has its own traditions and things. And so this is a great way to do it, and it has really good artwork for that. Now, if you can't get Africa is Not a Country, they don't have it at your library or whatnot, you can get
Amazing Africa.
Africa, Amazing Africa, which does the same thing, except there's a little less on the pictures. But every page, let's see if we can find a country page. Yeah, so there's a little bit, so there is some artwork, but there's just a short bit of facts about it. So this one is told more in a story, like this child gets off the bus and they go here. And so I think this works a little bit better for the younger crowd, although our girls liked both of them. Whichever one you can get easily.
This feels like it would be a better spine, and Africa is Not a Country is more of something you would read all the way through. In some respects, it's hard to jump around in the story. This is something you can just kind of say, hey, we're going to focus on these 3 countries, and we'll read
this is kind of hard because it's it takes place at different times of the day, so different things that are going on in that one day. So I think you're right about that, and I think this one goes a little younger maybe than this.
Yeah.
But they're both really good books, and they're both a great way to highlight all the different countries, because one of the problems that you get into with Africa is that there are a ton of countries in Africa of which, you can check our resource guides on our Gumroad store, and we'll put the link below. There's a ton of great resources for Africa, but some countries have very few resources. So you need to get compilation books to get the perspective on those places, because otherwise you're not going to find a lot of other literature or things at your library to cover some of the places.
Yeah. And there are a few countries there, if that's something you're specializing in, if you have some ancestry there, or that's something where you have some connection to that country. Some of those smaller countries are only in these kind of compendium books.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, and even some of the larger countries, there's only maybe a couple of books that we could find we have a pretty extensive library system, and we could only find a couple things. So it's nice to get these type of books that, have more. So
absolutely. Next one, nice little one if you want to add to kind of like the country by country.
Right, so this is the same idea as far as the compilation. So this is a Fandex Family Field Guide.
For Africa.
We really like these. Sometimes you can get these at Book Outlet. They're usually pretty affordable.
They break it up country by country.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
And then on the back, there's additional information as well for every single country. And
so the front's got like the flag and all the kind of statistics, population, language, all that kind of stuff. And then the back has got more information. Our kids just really love to look through these.
These are just fun. There's so many of these out there for all different topics, whether it's, Africa or science.
We have a mummy one, I think,
a mummy one,
and a painter's one. There's a few different ones. But I think this one's really good just because it can help us understand the differences, and it's got that nice visual top. So
absolutely,
I think that is fun. The Fandex Family Field Guide.
Absolutely. Now getting a little bit into the biome research.
Oh, we have one more before we get there. Sorry, living in.
That's right, living in Egypt.
So these learn to read books are really good. This was another one in that afternoon where my little one tricked me into reading things twice. But this one's really good. It always follows a fictional child and through their entire day, and how they go to school, and what they have for breakfast, and what their family's like. And it gives such a great perspective on what it's like to live in that country. And it even delves into some history, like in this one that's going to go into a little bit of ancient Egypt stuff. But I think our kids connect with this so much better than any of the other books that we read. If there's a living in ... always get it for the country. We never skip it because they're all fantastic.
And there's so many of these. You can easily find
There's a bunch of them. And I just think the style is just perfect for this age. It's so good. They're a little bit lengthy. I know it looks like a learning to read book, like it should be shorter. But, you might want to take it in a couple of sittings because it can be a little long. But I think they're super quality.
So going into our biome research, the Who Is, Where Is series, we have the Sahara Desert. Nice little, about 90 pages. So talking about a little bit longer, a little bit denser content might be good for a little bit of an older reader. I didn't read any of this to my youngest this week. Did flip through a few pages, but it just really wasn't her flow. It's a little too dense for her. So we skipped that. If my oldest was here, I might have asked her to read a few pages, maybe even read a few to her as well. But if you're looking for a little bit more of an elevated book on a biome, specifically deserts, if you choose deserts for this section of the world, this is a good example of that. So definitely go ahead and check that out.
Absolutely.
You had a great suggestion here, A Day in the Life of the Desert. Now, when you're doing the biome research, it's hard. Sometimes you may not find the biome tied specifically to, the desert. Say you're doing something on like the Atacama Desert or the Death Valley in the US or something of that nature. You may not find a specific book on that biome for that specific country location.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't try to get books on biomes, because a lot of deserts and a lot of biomes share a lot of commonalities, and you found this really good one. Now this one's
A Day in the Life of the Desert. These are all American.
This is American deserts.
U.S. deserts. But it talks about, you can show some of the pictures, it talks about all the great animals and talks about water processes and different things in the desert. So a lot of it's still applicable, and that's why I kind of like doing the biome thing, because like you say, the Sahara that's a big one. We have lots of resources, but there are other places where, whatever country we're studying, there won't be a book about the biome in that country specifically.
If you've hit deserts a bunch of times and you go to Australia and you got to find something new, you might choose like the ocean or maybe grasslands, and there might not be something specific for that area or whatever. It's just an example, but you may run into an area or a country that you may like, well, should we do deciduous forests again when we study Germany? Well, maybe you find something else that's, a little bit it better, maybe there's rivers, but there's not going to be a book about the rivers of Germany.
Not for kids anyway.
For kids, right? And
So
you'll be a little challenged there in that respect.
Take what you can get when it comes to biome stuff.
Yep.
So this was really good. And what we did with this one is we just read a little bit. And that's the whole plan with our biome study is we're not trying to be comprehensive every week because we're probably going to do deserts like 5 or 6 times. So we're just introducing it. And next time we might do something hands-on or read a little bit more in one of these books. And just kind of keep building on that theme.
Yep, I agree. Going into a little bit of we recommend obviously the Atlas.
Yeah, these are part of the spines.
And specifically we use our two books here for the pyramid work in here. And they have two really wonderful
The Wonders
spreads.
of the World book is really good. It's got some great stuff on the pyramids.
If I could find it.
Yes, we should have prepared. But we just wanted to show you the type of spread that you can see in these books. These books are oftentimes fairly expensive. They're great to get when there's a sale, like the buy 2, get 1 free, which is called buy 3 for the price of 2 on Amazon. I don't know why they call it that. It's just confusing.
It can be a little...
buy 2, get 1 free. But anyway, so yes, Pyramids of Queens, is that what it is?
74.
But these books are really worth it, I think, just because the spreads are so
Spreads
beautiful.
are so huge and beautiful. So yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're doing any art-inspired stuff that we might be showing you in a few minutes. This is really cool to have these. Really cool. And there's so many. There's like 80 pages, so there's about 40 or 50 spreads here. So you can definitely find multiple things on every single continent, especially with this book. There's definitely something there on every continent for you, so it's definitely worth the purchase from that respect. So.
Yeah, you'll definitely use it every week. We always do, and they, while they were a little pricey, they are some of our favorites.
Cooking Class Global Feast.
So we wanted to show this because we forgot to show it in our spine video, and I was like, oh man, I can't believe I forgot that. This is a really good book with some very easy recipes and good pictures for all the different countries, and it's great. We show the table of contents.
Yes. I'm trying to find the thing we actually made this week.
No, but show what it looks like.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Okay, so it's got all the flags in there. It shows all by country.
This is so nice because
it's so nice, right? Because it's really easy to find what you're going to do.
Exactly.
So this week we went ahead and we did kind of a feast thing. We made hummus from scratch, which was from the book.
From the book.
And that was really easy and delicious. And you had roasted some red bell pepper on the grill a couple days earlier. So I just chopped that up and we added it on top. And
that was great.
And then we made pita chips in the oven, also from this book. So we had the pita chips with the hummus, which was really terrific. We made a Moroccan tortilla. So if you've ever had like a Spanish tortilla, which is got the, it's like egg and potato. It's like a kind of an omelet-ish type of thing. This one was similar, but had all these Moroccan spices in it, so that was quite good.
That was good.
And then we made another Egyptian, and I don't remember the name of it. I'll link the recipes in the show notes.
It was like an Egyptian empanada.
Well, it was kind of like an Egyptian hamburger. It was ground beef with onions in it, and it had lots of spices in it. And then you actually cut a pita open and you stuff it in the pita and you bake it inside the pita.
It was wonderful.
It was really quite good. So I'll link, because I don't remember the name of it, I'm sorry, but I'll link it in the show notes so you can take a look at those recipes. So we just did this as kind of an evening thing. We made the hummus early, had that kind of as an appetizer, and then we had the tortilla and these Egyptian pita sandwiches for dinner, which was just awesome.
I thought it was wonderful. You did a great job.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of art and doing a good job. So we
were so proud of yourself. We did so much art.
So we focused on the pyramids.
The little one loves art.
We focused, behold, the pyramids of Giza in 1/1000th scale.
It was funny too. I love
it was a little bit more vertical.
Do you see how it now looks like the hill from the mountain from the Grinch, right?
Listen, child, don't touch it. It's drying. Okay, Daddy. Touch.
So anyways, yeah. But this turned out really good. We like our air clay in this house. It's nice. We're getting more comfortable. We've always done paper crafts. And speaking of which,
not just one-dimensional paper crafts anymore. No.
We're elevating.
I'm elevating this paper crafts. We have gone 3-dimensional paper crafts. Behold.
So we printed out some pyramids that were little origami pyramids.
Origami pyramids. Just cut them and obviously taped them to the page, and then we put a mummy. And now, how do you do a mummy? Well, you do a little fun cube mummy or cubic mummy or something like that. It was fun.
It was
and it was
really
enjoyable,
fun.
and
It
she
was
had
really fun.
and she had a blast, and she colored it, and she did all the taping. That was the tough part. That was the hardest part. Getting
Yeah,
that
lots of
little kid to
taping.
do the taping. That was the hard one.
So that was really fun. We had just done ancients, and we did study the pyramids. Although
Yeah.
that's been quite a while ago. Our
It
daughter
has.
was only like 4.5, and she didn't really remember it. So we thought this was fun to lean into pyramids for our art this week.
And then we watched a few videos. Didn't go too deep into the videos this week because we had a lot of books to read. We did a bunch of art, but we did watch a lot of tourists taking camel rides around these very pyramids, and my daughter loved it. She got into she was more interested in the camels than anything else. And there's a piece of art we forgot. We have these sticky things where we made a camel caravan through the desert.
Oh yeah, we did. We took sheets of foam, and you can buy foam, and they're
Has a
sticky back
sticky, yeah.
foamed. And so if you cut them out in whatever shapes, then you can stick them, and then you can stick them on each other to make multi-layers. So you guys did camels, and you stuck them, and then you did like the little blanket for the back of the camel in another color, and then stuck that to it.
Well, yeah, we did the colors
Made
of
it all 3D.
We did the colors of the flags of the two countries we kind of focused on, which was Morocco and Egypt. And so they had the flag colors was the blankets that went over the camels. Very creative.
It was very good.
Yes.
And then we watched a few things.
Yes, we did.
We were trying to figure out what we were going to watch as far as a movie.
Mm-hmm.
There is a great series of ultra marathons that take place in deserts around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a few really good documentaries for those. One of the documentaries that we'd seen a long time ago was Running the Sahara. And I remember in that there was some discussion of one of the runners at least had overcome addiction and now had become an ultramarathoner. So there was, you might screen that. We haven't watched it. We haven't watched it in years. That was a really good one. But we watched Running for Good, which was this really cool story about this. It was actually pretty short too.
Yeah, it was about 45 minutes long.
Was it Prime maybe?
Yeah, something like that.
I think it might have been Prime. And we'll link it in the show notes. But it was about a woman who was actually vegan, which I thought was kind of amazing. Yeah. And she went through this ultra marathon in the Sahara. And
yes, the Marathon des Sables, or des Sables, or des
des
Sables.
Sables.
Yeah, des Sables.
I think that's what it was.
The Marathon of the Sand, I think.
Yeah, it was amazing to watch her and all these people running through this grueling desert race. There's actually one more documentary called Desert Runners, which is on Prime. So we'll link all of these and you can see which one appeals to your family. But there's a few different ones. The idea that these folks go on, I think it's a 7-day?
7 or 8 days, yeah.
Marathon through the desert is bonkers.
And they have to carry all their gear. And she was overcoming a lot of adversity from her childhood. She had some physical ailments. She had like a tumor in her leg or something like that.
She had no kneecap. She ran this all without a kneecap. It was amazing.
And she does all this animal rescue stuff. So it's a really great story, uplifting story about this woman who...
Right, she was raising money for the sanctuary.
Just didn't care. She just did whatever she wanted to do. She's amazing.
She's amazing.
Loved watching it. And then we also watched Casablanca together as a couple, and we watched that this week.
We just kind of want to...
Ingrid Bergman and Humphrey Bogart doing their thing.
Yeah, I mean, right. It's a movie of its time.
All the quotes.
But I mean, like culturally, it's a movie of its time,
yes,
right? We don't want to forget about the adult aspects of learning about these different places
and just enjoying the experience and getting that connection with the education and enjoying the whole process. Like,
right, feeling like we're a part of it.
What, if you have some recommendations on great movies, I don't know, Sahara with Matthew McConaughey.
We almost did it.
We almost did it. And
oh boy, talk about a B-flick.
It was a hair's breadth away.
I haven't seen that movie in years. It's probably got all kinds of cultural stereotypes that are incorrect.
Of course, but if you have a recommendation for a good movie you like to watch that takes place in these two countries, we also watched the cooking show, the Phil, Feeding Phil.
Oh, I forgot about that. I think it's called Somebody Feed Phil.
Somebody Feed Phil.
And this was really cool. So he's a total geek, which I really I relate to. And he is in Marrakesh, Morocco, and he goes through all these different areas of the city. And he has meals with people, and he talks about food, and he talks about culture with them, and he's so just like nerdy positive, and just almost like a childlike wonder about the culture
the people.
and everything. He's almost just like, wow, you get to eat here at this view, and you get to eat this food, and it's like very cheesy. But he's so genuine about the whole thing.
It is a good show.
It's like you get over all the cheesiness because he's just so genuine. He's having such a great time, and it showcases so much of the culture.
Well, and also there's like 5 or 6 seasons, and he's
Yeah.
been all around the world.
Yeah.
And if you have a chance, check out the listing. You may be able to watch an episode in almost every single country that you may visit.
It's on Netflix, so it was very accessible. And the episode was like an hour.
Yeah.
It showed more than just food. It showed them walking
People.
through market stalls. It showed food and about different parts of their culture.
And I
it was
always
very
love
cool.
I always love the idea of getting to understand a people and an area through their food, because I just think there's just so much that comes. There's so much history through food, and so much culture that comes through food, and the experience of family and friends. So you're right. I loved how he kind of showcased that. And
Yeah, it was a little bit, I would say it was a bit elevated for our 5-year-old. She was not as interested in what he was doing. Our 8-year-old was riveted.
She loved it.
She thought it was great. So I would say either for, kind of that middle elementary child or even as adults, it was very entertaining for us. I think our youngest was kind of like, "Ooh, he's having another meal. He's eating again, Mommy."
He's eating
It's
again,
like,
he has to.
yeah, well, that's what the show's about. He's eating and he's having these great conversations while he's eating about their culture and about their food, and so it was cool.
it was good. It was a great
good memory. I
It was a
forgot
great
about that.
week. We had it with our little one. We're coming back. Our oldest is coming back and going to join us. We're going to Scotland and Ireland.
Ireland.
We've done Ireland. We're going to Scotland.
Well, we're gonna,
We'll do some Ireland.
We'll
we're
do
going.
them both.
We're going to Scotland, and we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna have some outing. We have an outing planned, so we'll tell you about the
Yes.
awesome outing that we're gonna do related to Scotland and the Highlands, and we're gonna have a good time. I think it's gonna be a good week. So we'll see you guys next week.